Have you ever wondered why reading a book or having a deep conversation feels almost impossible lately? Why your brain constantly compels you to reach for your phone and scroll? It's not because you're lazy. It's because your brain's reward system has been hijacked by the digital world. Science reveals that dopamine isn't actually about pleasure. It's about the pursuit. Today, with Dr. Alex, we are exposing the dopamine trap that is literally selling your attention, and we're uncovering a simple 48-hour protocol that can physically recalibrate your nervous system. In the next 13 minutes, I'm going to show you the scientific roadmap to reclaiming your focus, your clarity, and your life. This isn't a gimmick, it's a neurological reset. If you're ready to take back sovereignty over your own mind, this video was made for you. Before we talk about resetting your brain, we have to understand what we actually resetting. Most people casually refer to dopamine as the pleasure chemical, but that description is incomplete and honestly misleading. Dopamine is not about pleasure. It's about anticipation. It's about pursuit. It's the neurochemical that drives you to seek, to scroll, to check, to chase. Neuroscientists like Andrew Huberman explain that dopamine rises not when you receive a reward, but when you expect one. That subtle distinction changes everything. Your brain is wired to release dopamine in response to cues, notifications, bright colors, fast cuts, sugar, novelty, over time. When these cues appear constantly, your dopamine baseline shifts. It doesn't spike as high for ordinary activities, and it doesn't recover as quickly afterward. This is where the trap forms. The modern environment is engineered for overstimulation. Social media platforms are not neutral tools. They are precision-designed dopamine delivery systems. Every swipe offers uncertainty, and uncertainty is neurologically addictive. Your brain loves unpredictability because it signals potential reward. So you scroll, not because you're enjoying it, but because you're anticipating something better in the next post. And here's the cost. When your dopamine baseline drops due to chronic overstimulation, normal life begins to feel flat. Reading a book feels slow. Having a quiet conversation feels underwhelming. Working on a long-term goal feels exhausting. It's not that you've lost ambition or discipline. It's that your brain has recalibrated to expect constant intensity. Philosophically, this creates a subtle but dangerous shift in identity. You start believing that boredom is a problem rather than a signal. But boredom is not an enemy. It's a reset button. It's the space in which creativity, reflection, and meaning can reemerge. When we eliminate boredom with constant stimulation, we eliminate the very friction that builds depth. So the first step in resetting your brain is awareness. Not guilt, not self-judgment. Awareness. Recognize that if you feel restless without your phone, unmotivated without instant rewards, or emotionally flat during simple activities, your dopamine system isn't broken. It's overloaded. Once you see the mechanism clearly, you stop blaming your willpower. You start understanding your wiring. And when you understand your wiring, you regain control. The moment you recognize the trap is the moment you begin to step outside of it. Once you understand the trap, the next step is intervention. And this is where the idea of a 48-hour dopamine fast comes in. Not as a trend, not as a gimmick, but as a deliberate neurological reset. When I say dopamine fast, I don't mean eliminating dopamine. That's biologically impossible. Dopamine is essential for movement, learning, and survival. What we're removing are artificial spikes. We're stepping away from the exaggerated stimuli that have distorted your baseline. Think of it less as deprivation and more as recalibration. For 48 hours, you intentionally eliminate high-intensity triggers, social media, fast-cut entertainment, junk food, gaming, compulsive scrolling, unnecessary screen exposure. You create a temporary environment of reduced stimulation. This concept has been explored in productivity and digital minimalism circles. notably by thinkers like Cal Newport, who argues that attention is a finite resource and must be defended deliberately. The first 12 to 24 hours are uncomfortable. Restlessness surfaces. You feel the urge to check your phone without thinking. That impulse is not weakness. It's conditioning. You are witnessing your dopamine loops in real time. And this is critical. You cannot change a behavior pattern you have never consciously observed. By the second day, something subtle begins to happen. Your nervous system slows. Colors look sharper. Conversations feel fuller. Tasks that once seemed dull become tolerable, sometimes even satisfying. Why? Because your baseline is beginning to stabilize. Without constant spikes, your brain regains sensitivity. Psychologically, this process is profound. You confront silence. You confront boredom. And in that space, you meet yourself without distraction. Philosophically, this is a return to agency. You are no longer reacting to external stimuli every few minutes. You are choosing what deserves your attention. A dopamine fast is not about punishment. It is about sovereignty. It is about proving to yourself that your mind does not belong to algorithms or cravings. It belongs to you. And here is the deeper truth. If 48 hours without stimulation feels frightening, that is precisely why you need it. Discomfort is not a signal to retreat. It is evidence that your brain is recalibrating. Give yourself 48 hours of discipline, and you may reclaim years of clarity. Now here is where most people make a critical mistake. They remove stimulation, but they don't replace it. And nature does not tolerate a vacuum. If you simply subtract high dopamine behaviors without introducing restorative ones, your brain will eventually drift back to the strongest available stimulus. The goal is not emptiness. The goal is restoration. When you reduce artificial spikes, your nervous system becomes more sensitive. That sensitivity is a gift, but only if you direct it intentionally. This is the moment to reintroduce behaviors that elevate dopamine in a sustainable way. Physical movement is one of the most powerful tools we have. Exercise increases dopamine receptor availability over time, which means your brain becomes better at using what it naturally produces. Something as simple as a brisk walk in sunlight can begin recalibrating your circadian rhythm and stabilizing mood. Sunlight exposure early in the day, as frequently emphasized by neuroscientists like Andrew Huberman, helps anchor your biological clock. When your sleep improves, your dopamine regulation improves. Physiology and psychology are not separate systems. They are one integrated network. Then there is deep work, focused, uninterrupted effort on a meaningful task. In the beginning, it feels slow. Your brain resists it because it's accustomed to novelty. But if you stay with it, something remarkable happens. Effort itself becomes rewarding. This is because dopamine is not only released in reward, it rises in proportion to challenge and progress. When you pursue something difficult and see incremental improvement, you build durable motivation rather than fragile excitement. Reading, journaling, prayer, meditation, these practices train attention. They strengthen your ability to sit with a single thought without needing external stimulation. Philosophically, this is the cultivation of interior depth. You move from being externally driven to internally directed. What you are doing here is rebuilding your reward hierarchy. Instead of cheap, immediate hits, you are teaching your brain to value effort, presence, and meaning. Over time, this reshapes identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who needs constant stimulation. You begin to see yourself as someone capable of sustained focus and deliberate action, and that shift is transformative. Remove the noise, replace it with purpose, and your brain will remember how to find satisfaction in the simple and the significant. What you practice repeatedly becomes what you crave. After 48 hours, something subtle but powerful has shifted. Your mind feels quieter. Your reactions are slower, more deliberate. The world hasn't changed, but your sensitivity to it has. And this is the most important phase because a reset is temporary unless it becomes a structure. Many people complete a dopamine fast and immediately return to old habits with the same intensity as before. That's like cleaning a room and then throwing everything back on the floor. The real transformation happens in what you do next. At this stage, your brain is more responsive to natural rewards. Simple actions, finishing a task, exercising, having a focused conversation, carry more weight. The question becomes, how do you protect this new baseline? First, you introduce intentional friction. You don't eliminate stimulation forever. You regulate it. You schedule your use of high dopamine activities instead of allowing them to schedule you. This aligns with principles discussed by thinkers like Cal Newport, who emphasizes structured engagement with technology rather than impulsive consumption. When you create boundaries, no phone in the morning, no scrolling before bed, you prevent your baseline from drifting downward again. Second, you redefine reward. Instead of celebrating comfort, you begin rewarding effort. Dopamine rises most sustainably when tied to progress toward meaningful goals. That means tracking habits, acknowledging small wins, and deliberately recognizing growth. This shifts your brain from seeking intensity to seeking advancement. Philosophically, this is where identity solidifies. You move from someone trying to fix their brain to someone who understands and directs it. You stop asking, "What do I feel like doing?" and start asking, "What aligns with the person I'm becoming?" That question alone restructures behavior. Understand this clearly. Your brain will always adapt to the environment you consistently provide. If that environment is chaotic and overstimulating, it will normalize chaos. If it is disciplined and intentional, it will normalize clarity. A reset gives you momentum. Structure gives you permanence. And here is the reflection I want to leave you with. Your attention is your life in its most concentrated form. Wherever you repeatedly place it, that is the person you become. Guard it deliberately. A 48-hour reset gives you the momentum, but structure gives you the permanence. Try the protocol, tell me your results in the comments, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the science of self-mastery.